It's a medium, not a genre. It's not part-time, it's a lifetime. 'Cause if you're brilliant, you can feel it. The assurance, the freedom from torment. Hey guys, Baron is back, and 2025 has been a pretty interesting year for me. I have accomplished a bunch as an artist, and I feel like it's going to help me grow even more in the future. But right now we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on the movies that I saw last year. And keep in mind I haven't seen every movie, so don't expect every movie. But I've seen quite a few interesting ones, and I'm excited to get into it. First, let's go and go over some quick rules, similar to last list: no concert showings and no re-releases. And with that being said, I guess it's time to get things started. So, at the bottom we have Lilo and Stitch. I have not seen the original movie before I saw this one, and even then I was not super into it. But now I have seen the original, and I can confess that this movie is actually much more deserving to be at the bottom here. There's just a lot of things in there which don't really work, and the ending for us is kind of goes against the ending of the original, kind of going in favor of the weird colonist stuff that the other movie was preaching against. In general, it's just not that funny. Of course, as in any movie which attempts comedy, there's a couple moments which you could say that was adequate, but yeah, in general, just not something I'd highly recommend. There's much better movies you could have seen this summer. But now we have Sketch. And with this movie is kind of funny to talk about in retrospect. It feels like it has like some identity issue where in some parts it wants to be this spooky, like kind of horror-esque kids film, akin to like some 80s stuff, I guess. And other times it just feels like it wants to be like a big parody of these types of movies. Like, there's a moment in this film where, I'm not kidding, someone gets it's supposed to be like a jump scare moment, where it cuts to a stuffed elephant, and they cut away from the stuffed elephant to look at this guy's face who looks at the stuffed elephant. When it cuts back, it just gets followed by this big, like, jumpy sound, and it's weird. I guess one thing I can give it credit for is being, having like a unique style to its enemies. The concept is probably the best part about it, like using this imaginary world and stuff in order to like cope with a big loss, which, I mean, it has an ending which doesn't really like feel, it just doesn't feel very well written. There's some pretty awkward acting. And it doesn't also help that at the end credits there's like an advertisement for this app which has like all this AI stuff in it, which doesn't even resemble the art style of the movie. And in general, it's a pretty big mess, and I feel like it deserves to be here. And now we have Snow White. Snow White and the next movie after this have something in common outside of having someone with I, D, and F in their name, which definitely doesn't help its like score on here, but also they are pretty disappointing if you look at them in the grand scheme of things. Like, it's based off the first ever Disney movie. That should be a big deal. You should be like, wow, that's crazy. You know they're gonna treat this for like some of the greatest mantle you could ever witness on screen. And it's pretty awkward. There's like a bunch of like the stuff they do add doesn't really feel like it needed to be put in. The stuff it takes away, I mean, it doesn't really take away much, it just changes it to like make it more suitable to like a newer demographic stuff. But in general, it's just not really working out. There's like not all the acting is like an issue or something, but there are definitely some moments which that can also be an issue. But aside from that, the songs, which I do really like musicals, like I mentioned in the past, I wasn't really getting that same love for this. In general, just this one just isn't really that great of a watch as well. So I'd recommend passing on this. At 35, we have Brave New World featuring Brave New Captain America and his Brave New Year at the time for Marvel. Yeah, I gotta say, it wasn't really the best first impression in my opinion. So, I was a little more disappointed in this movie than the last one. I was pretty adamant in following Sam's journey throughout the MCU, so now we're here, and I just wanted to see more of him doing the like all the Captain America stuff, being Captain America, like learning to become this icon to him, even if that got a decent amount of screen time in the previous show. I mean, that's what this movie is called, so I was a little surprised. I don't dislike surprises, but this one, I disliked it. Yeah, I just wasn't too interested in the Red Hulk's character. I can tell they're trying to add a bunch of depth to it, but just didn't find them. There was a little bit of a disconnect, especially with the Brainiac villain, who was definitely a little worse. But in general, just not really a big fan. Not really much else to say. So let's move on to something I'm a little more excited to talk about: the Diary of a Wimpy Kid Last Straw movie. So yeah, this one feels like its tone is kind of all over the place. It feels like it wants to be a emotional family journey that a bunch of younger kids can resonate with and learn more about their engagement with their parents and stuff. Just in general, just a great movie for the family, but it's dragged down by some what feels like moments where the movie is a little afraid to get too deep into some kind of deep into the deeper elements of family. So they have in these random slapstick moments where just characters would just, specifically Greg, who seems to have the worst luck seemingly ever in this movie, where everything that could go wrong goes wrong. I have not seen the previous 3 of these animated movies, so I would not know if this is the standard for them. This one does things better or worse. But I have seen the original live action ones, and I'll admit that this movie has elements present in all 3 of those, and I gotta say this movie does pretty much all the stuff in that one a little worse. I mean, it's animated, so that I appreciate how they do try and do some fancier stuff in order to make it seem less just a filter over the previous movies. But with this, like I said, the slaps, it makes me chuckle because there's this one moment where everything is crashing down, all of Greg's lives are being thrown at him in front of his father and stuff. His father's oh my gosh, what have you done? You're in so much trouble. And then a group of kids, a teacher, someone brings a group of previous kids who I don't even think really have that much of an issue. Really shouldn't really have that much of a problem with Greg in the context of the movie. Start chasing after him in this goofy skin. It really messes with the tone because they go back. It's really dumb. The art design is kind of awkward with how it has these really odd looking character designs based off the books, to this one moment where it shows a waterfall, which literally looks like it's made of blue crystals, and yeah, that's basically all I have to say for this movie. Now with How to Train Your Dragon. Of course, since it's based off one thing which I love this movie is that it's based off a DreamWorks film instead of a Disney one, which actually, considering how like much less, how like more like risque, or like how much more of like how much odder some of the DreamWorks movies can be. It is kind of interesting seeing that brought into the live action space. Like the scene where Higa eats the fish. It's funny how much grosser it is in this new one, but yeah, that's why like pretty much unlike the other ones, this one follows the original to basically a T, and all that like means that it basically does all the stuff that it does right. It also means that it really feels like there wasn't much of a reason for it. There really isn't too much you can add to it, so I'm just putting it here because I feel like this is a good place for something which does so good at being so lame. And the whole like stealing, because stealing things is not nice, even if it's under the same studio, I guess, but it's just weird. Anyway, let's just continue. So at 32, Minecraft the movie, Minecraft a movie, I guess. So this is another one of those films which feels like it was at the last minute trying to like cash in on the whole like post-ironic phase that we're kind of going through, where oh my gosh, this is so bad, but it's supposed to be bad, but it just feels like it's like a last minute like reason to make the movie sound like a little appealing. I mean, it was successful in that phase, but yeah, it's kind of obvious that there were like some emotional moments in this movie and stuff outside of like all the like goofier like elements to it. The like tons of different like out of context clips and stuff. But this movie, it feels like it's supposed to have like a genuine heart. Like you're supposed to emotionally connect to all these characters and their lowest points, the happiest points. But the movie is like it's so hard to take really seriously that those elements don't really work. The humorous parts, of course, like I do like a bit of this like goofy oh this is so random type of stuff, and there are points where that can be pretty entertaining, but yeah, this film felt pretty directionless, which is ironic because it would sound like it was pretty direction-full when I was hearing like the behind the scenes stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Just a pretty, I guess I don't really know what I was expecting from a Minecraft movie with a game like that's as straightforward as that. So next up is Grand Prix of Europe. Out of all the movies on this list, this one feels like the most middle of the road, which means that stuff is only coming up from here, which also doesn't mean that like each one is always like amazing one. But anyway, the Grand Prix of Europe, it was like a special showing thing, like not like the biggest premiere, and it was fine. It was like nothing too special at all. It really was kind of bland, and I can't really think of anything it does too special. It's visually okay. The only thing I can like really see making it better would be if Ed and Grab would into like some sort of intimate relationship afterwards. That would be kind of an interesting possibility. Darn, where is he? Is that? Oh my gosh, Knocked Crab. You need some cash, Big Ears. Actually, I only came here for you. What's so special about me to break the indestructible ego of yours? Honestly, I've always been too immature to properly enjoy life. The way you take any encounter, negative or positive, with such pride, not only do I find it admirable, but also attractive. What I'm saying is, I think I'm in love. You're an idiot to think you can handle me. I have a little secret of my own, Big Ears. Many people get me confused with the Equalizer. Oh, shut up and take off the jack. Number 30, we have Smurfs. So, with the Smurfs movie, I was hoping this would be a similar case as the Garfield film, where I would have, where it would be like that one Paramount movie, which despite everyone really not caring about, I would be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And honestly, as you can tell by this movie not being in the top 10, it wasn't really that. So, despite liking the songs in the movie, really liking the art style too, there was a bunch of story stuff which really hit me, which really wasn't sitting with me. The element where the story has to progress by having Smurfette lose the previous knowledge she has of her lineage. I've never really enjoyed that in stories. It feels very clunky and stuff, and it really does ruin a lot of the experience. So, now we're left with this movie, which, while the story's not good visually, it's really good in that it's a pretty straightforward movie, so it's not, I don't really need to put too much attention to it. So, let's move on. So, do you want to see a family movie? A movie that's actually for families, about families, with families? Well, here's the family in this family movie for families. Anyway, so this is at number 29. I thought it was pretty fine. There were first enjoyable interactions between some new characters, learning how the work as a family is kind of a cool little premise in this film, even if The Incredibles or stuff like that is it's quite a bit of a big gap between quality there. But yeah, there was also a Silver Surfer that was a pretty fine little character. She has it just isn't anything super special. So yep, not really much else to say with this. So let's move on to How You See Me 3. I love how obvious it is from the same director as movies like Venom and Uncharted, because this guy always writes characters as if they're trying to speak down to the newer generations. You guys ever heard of those crypto stuff? You guys ever heard of that AI that's pretty bad, and that stuff is also pretty modern, so you're gonna hear us mention it. Anyway, this movie, of course, being written by that guy, has a bunch of goofier moments in between all the magic. This guy is I can see why they hired him, because he makes movies that are better at being really popular than being actually high quality. This movie is okay. The twist, but I wasn't really getting the biggest connection with it. There's this one death scene which is also wasn't really getting connected with. Then again, I haven't seen the previous movies, so maybe that's part you. But yeah, this one's just kind of goofy and stuff. Not really much else to say. But now we're on to, I'm gonna say this is when we're in the good part of the list. If the last movies were fine, these ones are the ones which are actually getting pretty good. And we're starting off with The Amateur, which feels like a pretty big outlier in my list. It's definitely the most consistently serious movie on here. I looked through the list again, and I can't see another movie which takes it so as seriously as this one. So, what makes this one so special? I thought the way how this guy, he's a tech guy, I'm just a nerd, I don't usually go out hitmanning people, was trying to hitman people and get revenge for the loss of a very important person to him. And I like how at the end of the movie, it's kind of up to the audience to figure out if they really think that all the stuff that happened was worth the ending, and if it's supposed to be satisfying or not. and I think it was handled pretty well. This just isn't usually my type of, not really the type of movie I'm too into, so that's why it's so slow, but I'd recommend giving it a look. So, now we're at number 26 with Mission Impossible, keeping up with the good movies. I feel like this one had a pretty satisfying ending to the whole Tom Cruise arc. There were a lot of like pretty fun action scenes, like is always expected from these movies. And while not enjoying it like as much as the previous one, I would say like the characters were cool. They were all given like some pretty good moments to do. I love when like movies like really try and make every character have a use, even if it even goes outside of their like usual range of what they are expected to do. But I gotta say I was pretty into this. And speaking of the previous movie, yeah, this one, Pets on a Train, happens to take a bunch of stuff from like that one's ending climax with the whole train thing. It even gets on fire and loses like some cars and stuff. But I happen to enjoy this one more than the other one because it's animated and uses that one climax from the Mission Impossible before. One thing which this movie has going against it is it's similar to the Smurfs movie where it does have like a moment, a quintessential moment in the film which does contradict an earlier event, and yeah, it's kind of lame. But look at all the cool train cars. Look at all the little guys trying to win across them. It was still fun at that point. It's not like it's an international film. I think it's Russian. So there were like a lot of like out of pocket stuff that you would definitely not see in like an average American animated movie. References to whole internet culture, how my views matter more than your life stuff, and that did like add like a lot of entertainment to this. The only reason that I would possibly rank this any higher though would be if the main antagonist, like the main character, might have hooked up. Why are you looking at me as if I'm going to transition to another comic? And now we have My Dad Saved Christmas number 2. I cannot find number 1. Maybe it's just an American thing because this is like a Spanish film. I found it just randomly on Netflix and I'm like, hey, this sounds cute, let's check it out. And it's pretty goofy, but unlike some of the other films early on, it feels like it's supposed to be. It was a really fun film. It's kind of similar to the previous one because they both have kind of broken like lip syncing because they weren't originally like in English. And with that being said, like the story is kind of generic, but it was just a kind of funny and just like it's like what's been happening in it. I wouldn't even say it's like funny and like with like being bad. It has some good ideas and stuff. So yeah, I just felt like this would be like the best place to put it. It's just when I think about it, I just chuckle from all like the goofy stuff that happens. So well, let's move on. Number 23, we have the Plankton movie. I gotta admit, I'm not the biggest Plankton fan. I understand why he's like a fan favorite and stuff. Like he is very moldable and has great voice direction. Like I can see why he's like the main recurring villain. I would kind of like to see other main recurring villains. And I'm not even sure exactly what it is. It's just something about it just doesn't entirely click with me. So now we have this movie, which I does like give this character quite a bit of justice. It's that I think the songs in this movie do have a lot of like variety and stuff. There's a lot of like variety and multiple directions in this movie, like set pieces, like art style changes. Those are really appreciated. And overall, it's a pretty solid movie, and I think Karen is like a pretty good like antagonist in this movie. But it's just the whole like disconnect between like me and Plankton. It's just that just really like lowers a bit of the like a bit of my like enjoyment of the movie. Like it's still a good movie. Like it's still like a pretty strong movie. It wouldn't be this high if it wasn't. I just feel like there's a disconnect, and if there wasn't one, it would be higher. Anyway, we have A Sloth Story, a special Australian project. I've seen a lot of these like Australian animated films from the same like few companies, so much so that I can even recognize like some reused character assets, just recolored and given new designs for the newer movies as background characters. And I mean that's kind of fun and also pretty cool and nice. Anyway, with this movie, I found it a pretty enjoyable little family story. Like the characters' like situation was understandable. I mean, I feel like there's like this artist character who I feel like really could have used a bit more to do. It's just kind of there, just as you expect them to paint like the final like cool artistic piece that really sums up the whole movie at the end. But besides that, yeah, this movie has a pretty like solid cast of characters with like some good interactions, even the occasional funny jokes and stuff. In general, it's a pretty solid little family movie, and I'm glad I saw it. And after that, we have The Elio. It was an interesting little movie to explore. I'm not exactly the biggest sci-fi fan. I always prefer fantasy more, but this one did like a good job at like having like this little situation with the main characters in, having like little alien world be like sort of a way of escaping it. I feel like that aspect was handled pretty well, even if I could even tell before like hearing the news that it was like the plot stuff has been whittled down a bit and like changed to fit like some dumb guidelines. But I found this movie still to have a lot to offer, a lot of like really fun alien designs, and it's a solid movie, and it has some like really good emotional moments at its best. So that's that. So now we're on to the 20s. The stuff gets a bit more real. Now we're on to Paddington 3. I haven't seen 1 or 2, but I know they're like renowned for being really clever despite looking like the average little kids film. And with this, I was pretty engaged, especially emotionally, to the like whole like journey that the main character goes on to find his mom. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, is he really not gonna find her? I was surprisingly invested in that. I was also invested in the location, as it was really as it was a really cool like place, and felt really. I just felt like it was attached to it, like it holds a lot of value to like the main character and stuff, and there were also a lot of pretty charming jokes. Like in general, it's just a charming movie. It's the charming movie, I guess. And I would happen to say that it belongs this high. So now we're on to Avatar 3. It's similar to the other two, as someone would probably expect. Like more cool settings, more like talk about how important like this lamp is to save. Spider represents like the basics of just the poor souls that you should always try and protect and stuff, and that's cool stuff. And I did like the like little like events in this movie which living together. I really like the villain. They had a lot of aura to them, and it was pretty fun like seeing their like whole like adventure, like seeing like their story and what they value. And you know, it's just a solid like good like little movie. It's like this example of a straight good movie. I wouldn't really say it's like exceptional or anything, but I'm glad I saw it. After that, we have FNAF 2. I found FNAF, the first one, to be okay. There were like some like fun little Easter eggs, and there's some here too. I found really good. In this one, the movie takes a lot more of an interesting approach for like the whole puppet character. And while I was a little annoyed at like some of the jump scare stuff, because I'm a pretty jumpy person today, so it seemed like just random moments where like the movie will try and jump scare you with a child just jumping out with not supposed to be intimidating at all, and just like really. But I found it a pretty fun movie. It was fun like seeing all the animatronics going around and stuff. There were definitely some awkward like moments in the dialogue, like at the end when Vanessa's like, "Hey, this is my family now," and then pretty much right after Mike Smith just goes and just rejects it. And I found that I was like, yeah, that could have been written a little better. But it's just high because they just found it like it's found a pretty fun watch and stuff, and the elements that do work were really enjoyable. But that being said, it's definitely not perfect, but I can't deny I feel like it belongs here. Now we have The Twits at number 17. I feel like if there is a guilty pleasure on this list, this would be it. I mean, there are some up ahead which are a little dicey when it comes to like general audiences, but one feels the most like I shouldn't really like it as much as I do. But I mean, I think it looks really good. Like it has a pretty appealing art direction. It can get a little like messed up and a little creepy at points, and I feel like it helps give the movie like a little vibe, while also being pretty goofy and stuff. It's another one of those movies which at its most juvenile, it gets super duper juvenile, while at its most like disturbed, it gets pretty darn messy. And I just happen to really, and I just feel like the whole package just comes together really well. Like, how can I deny a movie where a whole crowd of people are able to carry a giant building? That's what the whole medium is for. So now we're on to number 16. So from this point on, I consider all these movies like the really, really great stuff that's considered worth checking out. I consider these films like movies which can actually inspire people to like be like, hey, this type of stuff, I want to make this type of stuff. I'm gonna make this type of stuff. So anyway, we're starting off with The Naked Gun. And with this movie, it was super duper funny. I haven't seen the previous ones, but this one was so funny. I felt like I just couldn't stop laughing throughout the movie. And it wasn't like just little chuckles. I was just like open mouth laughing and stuff. And I just feel like the way the obvious the story, despite having like a little serious outer look to it, is actually like has tons of really, really goofy stuff inside, and it's full of just so many jokes. It's like one of the funniest movies of the year for me, and I'm so glad I decided to go out and see it, and I had a fun time with it. And now we're on to Fixed. This movie was also one that I found pretty funny. It has a lot of pretty mature XXX jokes in it, and I was pretty on board for it. It looked really, really good. Of course, Gendy always has some great people working with him when it comes to the art direction at least, and I was into the story as well. It's not something that you're supposed to take too seriously, but I just found a lot to enjoy in this, and I think it rightfully earned its spot at number 15. So now we're on to Predator Badlands at number 14. Out of all the really good movies I saw this year, this one was probably the biggest surprise for me. Like, I expected at most for it to be okay. Like, I'm not the biggest, like I mentioned, I'm not the biggest fan of sci-fi, and I've never really been invested on, like, the alien world. So, I went into this not really knowing what to expect, and I had a lot of fun with it. There was some really cool action. The whole, like, Badlands area did have a lot of, like, a lot of detail and stuff, which made it feel less like just any other, like, like a messy, like, dangerous world. And there were even, like, a lot of goofy parts, which convinced me this wasn't gonna take itself as seriously as I was afraid it would. And I was having, like, lots of fun with it, and I came out very much enjoying the whole ordeal. So, next up is The Thunderbolts, another Marvel movie, and the one which I happen to enjoy the most out of them. I already liked how, like, some of these characters were portrayed in previous movies, and seeing them, like, given more development, more, like, time to grow and stuff was very enjoyable, and I loved the villain. Probably one of my favorite Marvel villains I think I've ever really seen. And it was a great time for me, and I found it pretty cool. So after that would be Search for SquarePants. Yep, I was also a little surprised by just how much I enjoyed this one. I expected to enjoy it quite a bit, but I was laughing a lot through it, and it had a pretty fun, like little scenario for how SpongeBob was trying to be this, like, big guy, and I was really rooting for him to, like, almost as well as knowing that he's probably gonna get shafted. He's probably just being used by the Dutchman in order to just handle his, like, own selfish desires. But I was having, like, a lot of fun with it, and it was definitely, like, something which I just happened to really enjoy. So now we're on to the Wicked for Good at number 11, and I happen to also really enjoy this one. So I gotta admit, I didn't really like it as much as the first one. There was some little, like, story, like, pacing stuff which I wasn't really too fond of in this one, and I gotta admit that does definitely, like, hinder this one's enjoyment, but it's still at number 11 for a reason. Like, it also has some really good songs, which of course helps. This one actually probably is my favorite song in both movies, As Long As You're Mine. And with that, I also enjoyed, like, just some of the settings, some of the set pieces. They were really cool. And yeah, those are pretty much it, but those were, like, some really good stuff. And if it's already this high after all those great elements, I'd say it's a pretty good, like, loading in that department, and just comes into a great project overall. So here we are, the top 10. I'm so excited, and we're starting off with Superman. I gotta admit, this was a big blast, like, pretty much entirely throughout. I love this version of Superman. He's so wholesome, even when he's facing off against some pretty ruthless monsters and stuff. Yeah, so the world building was really good. I got pretty attached to all the new characters. It was also really worked when it came with the jokes. Overall, it's just a big, great ordeal, and it was I'm just really glad. It's one of those movies which makes me smile just thinking about it. It really is hopecore. I don't just have word a lot, but it's hopecore. And if you like live action movies, I am sorry, but you will not like the rest of this list, because all other 9 of them are animated. So that being said, we're on to Night of the Zoopocalypse. So the main thing that made me want to see this movie was the visual style, as the character designs were so, like, different than the norm. They just really interested me, and yeah, they really add to the whole vibe of this movie. It really is, like, a little spooky Halo adventure, and it really helps with like the style, the colors. It really made it like pretty engaging, and that was like my favorite part of it, the atmosphere. It just felt like so unique, and it just really made me engaged in like the story of the main character and all the like other characters and what they can do, and it was a pretty fun time. And yeah, I was pretty into the whole ordeal. And next at number 8 we have Dogman, the first movie I saw this year, and it's another movie that I feel like it does the whole silent protagonist thing really well. I was really into like the villain like helped really add like this like cute little, it's a pretty wholesome movie, like a lot of really like appealing style to me too. I haven't seen the Captain Underpants movie, but I've been really into like the way this looks, and from what I've seen, the other movie style is really nice. It's just a really it's just a fun movie with a lot of like cute jokes and stuff. The only thing which like really goes against it and doesn't bring it higher is that there is this weird subplot with the like villain's dad, and to be honest, it didn't really amount to anything much. It felt more like something that would be used like in the script for Dogman sequel. I'm not sure if we're gonna get one, but that's just my deduction. But besides that, it's a really solid movie, and I had a lot of fun with it. At number 7, we have Zootopia 2. So the first movie presented such a like wild and large world that it was no surprise that they're like continuing to explore it further outside of the miniseries from before. And I gotta say, I think I like this one more than the first one. I think its whole like discrimination message was a lot more well written in this one than the other one, as it feels like there's less like, hey, wait a minute, doesn't that need that in order to do this? I also found like the villain to be a lot more interesting. They're both the whole like twist villain thing, but the one in this one feels more like has more depth, because the main issue that you would come across with those twist villains is that their twisted like personalities doesn't really like have enough development, as it's like usually saved for much later in the film, where you can't really work much with that and it becomes pretty uninteresting. But in this one you can like gather what's like character, the new one, and compare it to like the Lynx's one, so you kind of are already familiar with it. And I feel like that's just really effective, and just this whole movie is just full of really effective like points in making like this world and its characters feel like more like giving them more depth and stuff. I was really invested in the main two leads, like little emotional journey as well. Overall, it's just pretty solid. And also, the only thing that could make it better though would be if Nibbles and Gazelle. Thank you so much for inviting me. So next up is In Your Dreams. This was a bit of a surprise, as it already looked pretty good, but I was really enjoying this one. It was a really cool like adaptation of the idea of dreams, where you go when you dream, how nightmares work. I think it was simple the way he had it, but I think it worked really well. I also love the film visually. It looks really good, and I was really into like the emotional moments in the writing, and it was pretty solid. I really liked how like the person who seemed immature like at first became the mature one, and like understood how things were supposed to go, and how the mature one became immature and stuff. I think that like was very well handled and very believable and stuff. It was making me emotional around the end, which was cool. And yeah, that's that one. And next up is Chainsaw Man with Zarek. And I haven't really watched Chainsaw Man outside of the first two episodes, but I gotta admit I was very, very impressed by this movie. Visually, I think it looks better than the initial series, as the colors pop a lot more, and the line art really does add a lot of style to it. And also, it's a pretty emotional story, with a pretty not so happy ending, but it was handled in a really interesting way, which makes the world feel more alive, just by only being in it for less than 3 hours. And just overall, this whole package it was just a really engaging movie, and it was very neat and stuff. It felt very well handled. At number 4, we have The Bad Guys 2. I happen to find this movie better than the first one. I think it's a little funnier than the first one. I think it has better villains. And I really love how they have their own little personalities, but a clear synergy that makes them want to work together. They have really great designs, really overall just really great personalities, and they really where the film shines. But of course, there's also like I mentioned, the great comedy, the fun. The original characters are still really enjoyable, and the art and the visual style is still really amazing. And yeah, it's basically just a really good-looking little spy movie, just like the last one was, but this one has a bit more, which makes it even better. And at number 3, we have The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. And with this one, I thought this one was gonna be number 1 at first. Just later on, I just found some stuff which really I thought the new one, or the ones at number 2 and number 1, did a little more to suit me. Anyway, this movie is still really, really good. First off, of course, it looks amazing. It really does lean into the cartoony antics really well, and it has a lot of really great highlights when it comes to it. It's very funny, has a lot of very it has a lot of moments which really left me laughing pretty hard, oh my gosh, that just happened, and it was so entertaining. And I felt the plot was pretty, it was this is kind of supposed to be a nostalgic movie for the older stuff that people from the older times would associate the Daffy and Porky characters with. And I think this movie does a good job at satisfying those people while also doing something new, and it's overall just a very fun time. And I'm looking forward to what comes out in the future. Coyote vs. Acme might actually be even better, so let's go and see. First, we have number 2, and that would be Demon Slayer Infinity Train. Oh my gosh, so I used to be a humongous Demon Slayer fan, but I kind of had a little dropout point. But this kind of got me into it again, because this was a very wild ride. It was visually just insane with all the different special breathing powers they have, along with all the different special demon powers, forget what they're called right now, we're winging it. And just I found the way this movie handles learning more about the demons in general. The series, the way as you learn more about demons is pretty interesting, and I was pretty engaged with the moments where the movie made you sit down and just experience these guys and all of their glamour and stuff. And it just has a lot of style to it. It has a lot of great moments where you really just think about, oh my gosh, I'm watching this and it's really cool. And yeah, I am very much looking forward to the other 2 movies that are coming out, because I am very much hooked in. Number one is K-pop Demon Hunters. Yeah, the more I think about this movie, like the more that it feels like it deserves to be number one. Like, first off, the visual style is very, very great. Like, I love how well the characters can, like, move between looking all serious and looking all goofy. It's something that I really love seeing in animation. It's something that I myself do try to pride myself in. And I also love how consistent the music is. Like, it's been it's not often I see uh, a musical which has like its songs be so consistent with quality as this one. And I was continually like hearing banger after banger and stuff. The characters were well defined. And I love how it's one of those movies where you can like look back on, where you can like watch it a second time and look at like all the like stuff that's happened and like later on be like, you know, this makes a lot of sense. Like this story feels like very well handled, and it just everything like feels like it goes together really well. I just love how the like with the climax, like figuring out like all the teacher characters and like messages were like messed up and stuff, and how like it was kind of, when you look back at it, it was kind of pushed out, like when they're having that like talk about their emotions and mirrors, like said it specifically as like the teacher might not like this, but I'm telling you this, and yeah, those types of details really help a story like this really stand out, and it was a very special thing that I'm glad that we got, and I'm curious to see like what the future brings in, along with like just the world of film in general, I guess. So now we're at the end. Usually I would say to like and subscribe by now, but I will show you something first. The new designs I had for myself that I will use in the later videos. I got a little bit tired of this one I currently have, as it's been a bit since I've changed it. But right now I'm about to show you, I'm about to show you, this place isn't usually stood up like this. Can you please just calm down for a second? Can I just, whenever we get to whatever this is, can I just show this off, please? Thank you. Anyway, ba-da-ba. Here we go. It's coming. Okay, here I am. I'm so cool. I'm so new. And I guess, okay, what was going on there? Oh no, this is not normal at all. Holy. Oh, my head. What is this? Why does it feel right every time I let you in? Why does it feel like I can tell you anything? All the secrets that keep me in chains, and all the damage that might make me dangerous. You got a dark side, guess you're not the only one. What if we both tried fighting what we're running from? We can't fix it if we never face it. What if we find a way to escape it? We could be free, free. We can't fix it if we never face it. Let the past be the past till it's weightless.